Welcome to this tutorial. This is for the Gimmer license board. It's an RPG Maker MV plugin that will allow you to replace experience points with license points. And this will let your character advance by buying licenses to then gain extra skills and all that kind of stuff. So everything's done with license points instead of experience. You need three things to get this plugin working. You need the Gimmer core JS file, you need the Gimmer license board JS file, and you also need this license board maker. All of these are linked in the description below. There are a few other files too, but they're all included in those downloads. So make sure you grab those three things and let's get started. So the first thing you have to do is go to the plugin manager in RPG Maker MV and add Gimmer core and add Gimmer license board. The order does matter, so make sure the license board comes after Gimmer core. If we go inside the license board itself, we can set a few parameters. So when you access the in-game menu, we can change it from license board to something else if we want. I'm going to leave it as license board. We can change the license point name. What do we actually want to call these? We can change the label, so EXP, LP, whatever you wish. We can use a custom cursor, and we'll go more into that shortly. We can have a success window, which will be like a small pop-up to tell the player, hey, this character has just got 10 HP, and that's from selecting the HP icon in your license board. And then there are some options to control how quickly that appears and so on. There's also finally a trigger switch, so maybe you don't want the player to immediately be able to access the license board and you want them to be able to access it at some point later on in the game, so we can have it so that it will only happen once a certain switch is on. Once we've got those two things in, we need to create a license board. Now the first thing we have to do, create a new map. So let's do that. I'm just going to call it map 002. I'm just going to leave it like that. We are also now going to add a tile set. So if we go into the license board maker, we have a file called license tile set, very basic tile set, and I'll show you how this works. So what we need to do is go to the settings option, go to tile sets, click on A5, and then add the license tile set. So this means obviously you have to go to your project files and add this license tile set file inside your tile sets folder. Press OK, or hit apply, press OK. So now we have access to these tiles inside our map 002, and I'm going to start adding them to the map to see how we want this license board to look. So I'm just going to add a couple of HP tiles. I'll probably speed this part of the video up. Alright, so let's suppose that that's how I want my map to look, okay? Now I want to assign some values to these. So we can do this with the regions. So 1 would be 1 point and 255 would be 255 points. So I'm going to add, I'm going to paint a 5 here on HP, and then a 10 on these two, and I'll probably just speed up the video here. Right, so I'll just keep it pretty simple for now. So we're just adding some hard values here to these icons. Once this is complete, we can actually now save the project, and now we need to go into our project file itself, and we need to open the data folder, and where we have map 002, this is what we're going to use to convert into a licenses file. So now I need to open the license board maker and open this file here, map converter HTML, in a browser window. So now I'll just drag map 002, which is our license board map, into the browser window here and drop it into this box. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a licenses.json file. So let's save this one. And it's going to go into our downloads, and I'm going to drag the licenses file into our data folder. And there it is. Now, because we're only going to have one board, there is one thing we need to do with this licenses file. We're going to open it into Visual Studio, and we need to basically wrap this data with 2 square brackets. So one opening square bracket here at the top on line 1, and then one closing square bracket here. Once that's done, we can now save, and now we have our licenses. Now we can close the license board maker. We don't need it anymore for the time being. Now we need to go into the license board folder and grab these two images I was talking about. If we copy these, we can then bring them into our project folder, into the system folder. So images, system, and then paste them into here. So you'll see they appear next to each other just there. Remember that you can customize these two images to use your own icons if you wish. So we have to do a little bit extra here. We are not quite done just yet. We need to now add a couple of tags to our class. So let's say that we're going to apply this license board to our hero, who is of course Harold. We need to go into our database and then click on classes. And then we actually need to add a few things in here. So you can see I've already added a couple of things. We need to add a starting license position and then an X and Y coordinate. And then we also need to give the board a name. And of course, this is map002 because this is the license board we created. We can also add a third parameter. We can add starting licenses, and then we can give an X and Y value here, and then separate each value with a pipe, and we can actually give a whole bunch of X and Y's here, and those will be the licenses that the character starts with. So I'm going to leave it just with these two for now. Hit apply and OK. And now let's see how things look in a test. So if we hit X, we now have this license board option. We'll press space on there, we'll press space on Harold, and see now we have a license board that we can move around. This is the custom cursor I was talking about earlier. That can be changed to something else. This checkered board can be changed to something else if you wish. You can change these tiles, and of course the icons too. So if I close this down, I didn't actually change the license position to be the correct one. So let's say I wanted him to start here, which is 8 by 5. I'll change this to 8 by 5. And then we'll go to new game, X license board, and see now we're starting at 8 by 5. Harold gained 30 MP, and you see that the values at the top here are changing depending on the region IDs that I gave them. So 30 agility, and it comes up with the success window there, which you can choose to have or not have if you wish. 40 HP, and just to show that this is working, you see that Harold now has 490 HP. Just to like show you again, he has 450 originally. You can see here is 450, and now if we give him an extra 40 HP, well, sure enough, he now has 490. So we know that's working. That's great. And those are the basics for the Gimmer license board plugin. It's that simple to get going with it. I think there are a few other things you can do. Like you can create, we can choose the cost for how much it costs to buy each node, if depending on the player, and the amount that it costs will be divisible based on how much value that the player is getting out of each node. All of this is in the README file for the license board plugin, so there's a lot more detail in there that you can kind of go into, but this is just the basics of how to get it working. So cool, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments below, and bye.